What is good, YouTube? This is Vortex, and I'm back with another Spy Family reaction video here. This is episode 11, and my reaction and review video. The review video will be right after this portion of the video, so stick around if you feel up to watching the review. But as always, the link will be pinned in the comment section below to watch my reaction. Be sure to click that link in the comments below. Watch my reaction. Come back to this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And like I said, if you feel up to it, stick around and watch my review video next. Let's get it. So today is my review for Spy Family episode 11, and what a really good episode today, guys. Title episode was called Stella. That specific Stella, the award, all of that. That this was the focus on Anya, harping on what happened in episode 10 with the dodgeball stuff, and of course the rumor of this Stella stuff. But we got some very funny things from Anya. We see here at the beginning that Anya had received some very not so great grades. She's basically failing at a lot of her in a lot of her classes. Of course Loid, he is basically forcing her to study, but at the same time, again, guys, I continue to say this, like he continues to change, looking to become a better person, a better father towards Anya. Of course, Yor's doing the same, but we see that that he decides to shift things eventually, instead of trying to force her to try to get these answers correct on these tests and stuff. He's like, look, let's shift it and decide to look to probably see if we can find out what what type of skills and talents you have. And these were just funny as well. He looks to see if she's good at music. He gives her a violin, she can't play. And then he gives her the tennis racket. She can't hit the tennis balls. She tries to do some gymnastic stuff, and just failing all out, get out. But then we see eventually they're just like talking about going out. He ends up saying, like, we know for a fact that people have gotten Stella Awards for community service, and look what we have here, a hospital. And I actually work at a hospital myself in real life, so I know all about that whole world. But when we see them go to this hospital here, we see that Anya, she's looking to help out, but she can't really even help out at the hospital. She's messing up a lot, but she gets more comfortable. We see her reading this manga, but I felt like she wasn't bothering anybody here, but the staff felt like she was. But eventually she ends up trying to run away. She bumps into I guess, like, want to say the head nurse, granny nurse here, and they she's basically telling them that they gotta leave. But as they're leaving, we see this woman and her son. The little boy's name is Ken. We don't know the mother's name. But what eventually happens is they're going to the rehabilitation pool. He's talking about, he doesn't really want to be there, but he's just asking specific questions to his mother, specifically about the pool. Is it cold, stuff like that. He actually goes to test it out, and then we see that he actually falls into the pool. But Anya, knowing that she has that power to be able to hear people's thoughts, she hears Ken drowning in the water. She actually tells Loid. She says, Papa, somebody's drowning in water. He asks, how do you know that? Now, this specific portion of the episode, I'm starting to question, like, will Loid actually sit down with Anya and actually ask her specific things because she knew this specific thing, right? But we see her run off to actually go to the pool and jump in the water, try to save Ken. She's attempting to swim further into the pool here. But that's the thing, guys, with that, we actually have people around them, near them. There's roughly about 7 or 8 people here, and none of them notice that this little boy was drowning. But Anya, of course, she does, and she jumps in the pool to try to save him. But with that, she couldn't, and of course Loid jumps in to actually save both of them. Like I said, and like that's the thing, once they're out of the pool and they're catching their breath and stuff like that, one of the ladies actually says, like, she's like, we didn't notice there was a whole bunch of people around. But again, that's not a lot of people. 7 or 8 people in this pool just practicing, and none of you knew, could tell, were paying attention, didn't see this little boy walking with her mother. The mother stepped off to the side for a brief second and he falls in. Nobody heard him fall in. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to think about, like, Ra's al Ghul from Batman Begins, where he told Christian Bale to mind your surroundings. That's just something that I feel like as adults we need to pay attention, because stuff like this happens all the time with these kids. They're doing something that they weren't supposed to do, or even it was just stuff like this was just like an accident where Ken could have lost his life, but you know, these specific people just weren't paying attention. But after all of that, that's when, you know, we get past, you know, Anya doing all this. She gets the Stella award. She gets it amongst her peers, and she gets a little big-headed. You know, she knows that, you know, people are going to be looking at her a little bit differently, treating her differently, this, that, and the third. She is finally achieves. I feel like definitely she felt like she finally achieved something that is beneficial for not just herself, but for both Loid and Yor, for the mainly for the mission, and hopes to meeting Damien's father. But once, you know, her friend pops up, she calls out her name, but she turns around and says, yeah, tis tis tis, don't, you know, call me Starlight Anya. This is really, really funny. So, you know, once we get into the school here, she's literally expecting, you know, all of this attention to be garnished on her, but that's not the case at all. It's totally different. There's a lot of students that actually still look down on her because she achieved this award. You know, her classmates are looking down on her. They're actually thinking that she might have cheated to do this, maybe even pushed Ken into the water, saying all this stuff. But when they turn their attention to Damien, they ask his opinion, and he just tells them, like, look, like, why would you even think like somebody would do such a thing at such a prestigious school that we are here? If you're looking at that as a bad thing that somebody wins this award, you know, per this school, then maybe you need to look to leave the school, because we are prestigious, so we don't do stuff like that. But in the midst of all of that, Damien actually does say to himself, you know, she did do this, but she did it the right way. He was basically saying to himself, like, I was actually thinking that she would have cheated to get this award, but she did not. But after all of that, we get home and we actually have an interesting conversation between Loid, Yor, and Anya. And it's about a dog. Anya talking about wanting to get a dog. Loid talking about, well, that is a interesting thing. Yor is the one that has a different perspective of saying that's a tall task of responsibility, and she's thinking like, you know, something bad could happen to Anya. Anya, of course, is envisioning that. She's talking about, you know, wanting to get a dog, but she's basically looking at Pops, looking at Loid, saying like, you know, let's get a smaller dog. But, you know, eventually, you know, Loid he agrees with her, like, wanting to get a dog. Now that lets me know that they're eventually going to get a dog. But with that, what it does, they actually go to this this place where these dogs are being held. More likely these owners of these dogs here are abusive to these animals, but they pan the camera to this one specific dog. Now it's interesting because this dog, I felt like in this image here, I felt like the dog was having a premonition of seeing this family, specifically Anya, Loid, and Yor, and it sat up and was just staring outside its cage door. So I'm just curious, maybe it has similar powers, because like I said, guys, in my reaction, I'm not reading the manga, I'm just watching week to week. So, you know, it's just one of those things that I'm questioning, like maybe the dog sort of has some type of power like Anya. You know, maybe we'll see what happens, but it looks like this may be the specific, more than likely it seems to be the specific dog that they're gonna get, maybe more than likely in next week's episode, which this week's episode, which is supposed to be the finale. So I'm really curious. All in all, I enjoyed this episode, guys. It was really, really fun, really, really great. I really, really enjoyed this one, and I'm looking forward to the season finale for this. I guess I would say the first half, the first core for this show, just for these 12 episodes. But I enjoyed this episode for today, guys. What did y'all think of it? Leave some comments in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts. What were your initial response and reactions? Let's talk about some things if you feel up to it. And I will hopefully talk to y'all next time with more Spy Family videos. Peace, guys.